Jupiter Mahadasha, one of the most awaited Mahadasha of anybody's horoscope. When you are going through the most troublesome Rahu Dasha and you know little bit of astrology or you visit some astrologer, he will always tell you ki just let the Rahu Dasha finish and then your Jupiter Dasha will calm down everything. So in this episode, let us study some charts and try and understand if what happens when the Rahu Dasha ends and the Jupiter Dasha starts. In this episode, we will study two horoscopes, that is of Mrs. Indira Gandhi ji and Mr. Churchill. Both were Prime Minister of their countries. And we will try to understand what made them Prime Minister and how this Jupiter Mahadasha helped in that. This is the chart of Mrs. Indira Gandhi. Cancer ascendant, Saturn in ascendant, and Jupiter placed in 11th house. So, right now, for this episode, we are focusing totally on Jupiter Mahadasha. And Jupiter Mahadasha for Mrs. Indira Gandhi started on 13th of November 1954 when her father, Mr. Nehru, was the Prime Minister of India. She started getting prominence immediately after that. She was, of course, daughter of Mr. Nehru, so she was part of the politics and the whatever was going on in the country since childhood. But after 1954, and once the marriage happened and she had children and all, after that, she actively entered into the politics where started sitting in the office. From 54, we can track her journey in the Congress working. All the decision makings and the working of the Congress, she became very active. But it was like subordinate to her father. She was a face of her father, and right now you can compare it to how Mr. Rahul Gandhi was there when Mr. Manmohan Singh was the prime minister. Rahul Gandhi was there, though Sonia Gandhi ji was the chairperson, but the Rahul Gandhi was there. People used to respect him, and people used to take his advice or ask him to take certain decisions. So similarly, Indira Gandhi was in that position, and from there, basically, she started getting into the limelight and getting into the working of the Congress. Here, we should take note of one thing that Rahu Dasha ended on 13th of November 1954. And end of Rahu Dasha is normally a bad period for everybody unless and until Jupiter Rahu are having aspect or they are conjunct. Then the transition is not that rough. It is rough, but it is not that rough. But over here in her chart, we can see that it's in Shadashta. That is 6 8 from each other. Jupiter is placed in 11th house and the Rahu is placed in the 6th house. So when the Rahu Dasha ended, the last year of Rahu Dasha is tough for almost everybody. That is Dasha Sandhi period starts or Chhidra Dasha as we know this. The last period, Mars Antardasha in Rahu is normally tough, where the whole Rahu, whatever the Rahu has created, starts getting dismantled. So somewhere around this time only, Indira ji started staying with Nehru ji at his house in Delhi and started looking after the party work more and getting away from the Firoz Gandhi. And she was when she was looking at the party work and she was traveling around all over India for that. Jupiter started, and the first antardasha of any Mahadasha, that is Jupiter Antardasha, is normally not very positive. Nothing big happens in that, nothing major happens in that, and that is the time when basically your nature, your eating habits, your behavior patterns start changing. And she obviously became a working woman, full time entering into the politics. So she was changing, or her nature was changing, her behavior was changing. And in 1958, Jupiter Saturn, Firoz Gandhi got heart attack. Her husband got heart attack. So she came back and she stayed with him for some time and she took care of him. In 1960, basically at the end of Jupiter Saturn Antardasha, he died. So now over here, point to be noted is that Jupiter sitting in 11 is aspecting the 7th house of spouse. and the moon is placed over there, and Cancer is her Lagna. So ideally, the moon, the Lagna Lord sitting in seventh, and the Jupiter respecting it, it should have given the strength. It should give the strength to the moon on seventh Lord or seventh house. But the husband died when just when the Jupiter Mercury Antardasha started. So her first part of the Jupiter Mahadasha was not exactly pleasant, but it was giving her more popularity in people and she was rising politically. She was a rising force. She was not yet arrived on any platform, but she was now known and she was developing her contacts. As we had discussed in the downfall of Trump episode, Jupiter Mahadasha and the Venus Antardasha is normally a difficult period. Normally, something bad or something wrong or a drastic changeover in your career happens in that period. Something drastic happens in your life, which um, changes the whole direction of wherever you are going in the first 8 10 years. That is what we discussed in that episode. So, what happened in Indira Gandhi's horoscope? In 1962, basically India lost a war with China. It was a humiliating defeat. And the worst part is that कि Nehru ji has never suffered a criticism or was never criticized by Indians till that point. In 62, when India lost to China, he was basically cornered. People were like blaming him for the defeat. And that was something which shook the whole foundation of what he was doing till that point of time, whatever he was trying to build or achieve in his life. Suddenly, a defeat can bring you down. And that is what was happening to Mr. Nehru. So, Indira Gandhi, who was very popular as a daughter of Mr. Nehru, was suddenly in a position where she was watching her father falling down from a pedestal. And very soon in 64, he died. Mr. Nehru died very soon after that. So Jupiter Venus, which we talked about earlier, Jupiter Mahadasha, Venus Antardasha, Nehruji died. And after Nehruji's death, Lal Bahadur Shastriji became the Prime Minister of India. So the power and authority what she was wielding or she was having because being daughter of Mr. Nehru, as well as whatever she want to do with the party, she was able to do because she was the daughter of the Prime Minister also. Suddenly things started to change. Party became more stronger. Shastriji was there. Shastriji was an able administrator. So she was, though made minister in the Shastriji's government, she was not that important what the importance she had when her father was the prime minister. This is what happens in the Venus Antardasha of Jupiter. In Shastriji's government, she was information and broadcasting minister. That is not the top four ministry. The top four ministries normally are counted as finance, defense, home ministry, or foreign ministry. So she was not part of that. But she waited patiently. It was Venus Antardasha in Jupiter Mahadasha. Shastriji died soon. We all know what happened. 1965 war and after that, when he was in Tashkent, he died. So after the death, Indiraji was suddenly brought and made the prime minister. She was sworn in as a prime minister on 24th January 1966 because everybody around in the Congress or in her party they thought that she is a gungi gudiya, that is she can be bulldozed or she can be bullied into doing whatever they want to do. So instead of making a very senior or some aged person prime minister, they thought that this girl, she is popular, the India knows her, and she can be bulldozed because she was talking less. She was younger to all of them, all other leaders at that time. So she was talking less. So she was called Gungi Gudiya, the girl who doesn't speak. So thinking about all that, her persona and her nature in Jupiter Mahadasha, which is in the 11th house, and the Lord of the 6th and the ninth house, though was providing her luck and the rise, and as the Jupiter is supposed to provide you expansion, it is supposed to give you growth, it is supposed to give you um, upliftment in your career or social status and all. It was giving all that, but it is sitting in a Taurus sign, Venus sign. So it had its own negative aspects also, which were happening on her, in her personal life. That is the strange part of it. Ki though professionally she is getting uplifted, on professional front she is getting name and she is becoming prime minister by the time Jupiter's sun or Jupiter moon started basically. Moon Antardasha in Jupiter started, but she had lost her husband, she has lost her father by the time. From Jupiter moon, she ran her government very successfully. Though she was called Gungi Godia, but she started taking her own decisions. And by the end of first term, she was totally in saddle. And the second election, the second term, she won on her own merits. That actually made her stand out, or that made her very popular in the country. But that happened in Saturn Mahadasha. In Jupiter Mahadasha, by the end of it, she rose to the prominence to become Prime Minister of India. The first part was not that great, but the second part took her to a very big height. Now, let us see the second chart, that is of Winston Churchill, who was Prime Minister of England, and he also rose during the Jupiter Mahadasha. So, Jupiter does give rise. His Jupiter Mahadasha started on 11th of December 1938 and lasted till 11th of December 1954. So, what started with that? Second World War. Second World War started in March, April, somewhere around that in 1939. And as it was picking up, Britain wanted a prime minister who would negotiate truce or peace with Hitler. And they had a coalition government and they chose Winston Churchill. So when did he become prime minister? He became prime minister on 10th of May 1940. That is around 1.5 years after the start of Jupiter Mahadasha. As we discussed earlier, the first Antardasha, Jupiter, normally does not do anything dramatic or drastic. So that doesn't mean ki you don't become or you don't get a new posting in that. It just means that ki he was in a coalition government. It was a subdued. He was already a minister, and he was made a head of the government because they thought ki they wanted somebody who can talk tough and discuss straight one on one with Hitler. So they put him in front. So it was not something like he was nobody like Indira Gandhi or a junior minister and suddenly made a prime minister. No, he was already a popular minister and he was given a authority to negotiate with the Hitler. So that is why I'll say ki it was a little small progression for him, but Jupiter Dasha, so it gave him a big title and big position. Now, Jupiter Dasha started and he became Prime Minister after 1.5 2 years of that. So, first 1.5 years, just a Dasha Sandhi, normally it keeps it very normal or frustrating. And when he became Prime Minister, he initially started the negotiations with Hitler. He initially started talking to him how they don't want a war and they want some boundaries to be carved out where there will be a peace on the European continent. Britain wanted peace, but Hitler was not looking for peace. So, all throughout the Jupiter, Mahadasha, and Saturn Antardasha, Hitler kept bombing England. But Winston Churchill showed a lot of tenacity and a lot of patience. Though Hitler was continuously bombing, but he kept on fighting, he kept on motivating his men. 11th of September 1943, when the Jupiter Saturn ended, that is when basically around that time only America entered the war. America entered the war and the whole everything started to change. Now what happened? There is a Mercury Antardasha which is starting in Jupiter. In Jupiter Mahadasha, Mercury Antardasha, and Mercury is his Lagna Lord sitting with Jupiter in second house. So that is what astrologically I see. Ki Lagna Lord is conjuncting with the Dasha Lord, and the as soon as the Mercury Antardasha started, the whole war which Hitler was winning suddenly, for England's perspective, started reversing, started going bad for Hitler, and by the end of 45, we know Hitler lost. He was the most popular Prime Minister of England, and he became so popular that he thought ki he is invincible, but he lost his election. He lost his election on 26 July 1945. He has to leave the position of Prime Minister. Why? Because Ketu the Antardasha started. The Ketu Antardasha, though sitting with the Dasha Lord, but it's Ketu. So Ketu Antardasha started and he has to leave. He has to leave, in spite of winning the war, he has to leave the throne. And Jupiter Venus, as we had discussed, that is again a drastic change happening in your career. So, so basically, he was totally sidelined. Mr. Italy was ruling England at that time, and independence of India had happened at that time, which Winston Churchill resisted. Which is Winston Churchill is on record trying to criticize Mr. Italy for giving independence to India. This is happening in when he is running through Venus Antardasha in Jupiter Mahadasha. So a prime minister who won Second World War for Britain is totally sidelined for whatever decisions Mr. Italy or the government of the time in England was taking. But the time changes. The Jupiter Venus ends and the Jupiter Sun basically again rejuvenates him, again gives him some power, again gives him some limelight, and in 26 October 1951, he is again made Prime Minister. He is again made Prime Minister of England. And second time he tries to do whatever he wants to do, but now the health is not supporting. Jupiter gives that. Jupiter, though it might give you professional success and other kind of successes, wealth and all, but I have seen a lot of people go through liver problem, a lot of people go through cancer problem, or there is a growth, some sort of growth happening. So growth, if you have got some disease inside your body, that will also grow, and cancer is one of those things which uncontrolled growth. So if Jupiter goes bad, then it can give you that kind of thing also. It can damage your liver. So his health started deteriorating. He was prime minister till 1955, but the health was deteriorating, and then he was becoming more and more aggressive and angry, and Jupiter Dasha was ending. So what made him prime minister was Jupiter Mahadasha, and now it was coming to an end. So he had to resign. He had to resign as soon as the Jupiter Dasha ended. His both the prime ministership came in the time of Jupiter Mahadasha, and he has to resign at the end of it. And next 10 years in Saturn Mahadasha, he lived a very lonely life. So Jupiter Mahadasha definitely gives you a rise, definitely gives you name, fame, it gives you big rise, growth, but it also gives big troubles. Indira ji lost her father and husband. Churchill fought a second world war. Millions of people died around them, but they succeeded. And this is how the Jupiter, the Mahadasha functions. You may become a CEO, you are head of your department, or you may get some position of authority. But there will be other troubles which are happening on a health issues or a family front somewhere. Because as they say in Hindi, स्थान हानि करे जीवा और दृष्टि जहाँ पे दे उसकी वृद्धि करे. That is, wherever the Jupiter is sitting, it will destroy, try and destroy that position, that part. And wherever it is expecting, it will grow it manifold. So Jupiter in Indiraji's case is sitting in 11th house. 11th house is the house of Icha. That is house of wishes, what you wish for. So what she was losing? She was losing her family. She was losing her father. She was losing her husband. She was losing a marital bliss. So there was a loss of wishes. Whatever you have might she might have wished in her growing up years. Whatever she might have wished for her father or husband. Now she was not able to fulfill that in spite of all the power and everything. What happened to Churchill? Churchill is having second house Jupiter, which is the same position which Mr. Trump is having. And Mr. Trump, like Mr. Churchill, immediately as soon as the Jupiter Mahadasha started, he became the prime president of US, and then he lost one term. Similarly, like Mr. Churchill, and now he's in second term. I don't know which wars he's going to fight, but Churchill fought Second World War, and this Mr. Trump is also looking for some wars. Okay, that subject aside. So, Mr. Churchill's second house Jupiter, what was it doing? It was making him talk rough. Jupiter's Than Hani Kare Jiva, it will destroy the place it is sitting in. It was making him talk rough. And Churchill is known for that. And Churchill's Jupiter is sitting with Ketu, South Node. That is very bad. So his speech was never appreciated by the elites, and that is why maybe he lost that election. And something which we can say also about Mr. Trump. So Jupiter is all bliss and it will only give you growth and it will protect you from all the harm and all. Sorry, there will be harm. You will lose elections, you will lose things, you will lose your personal belongings, you will lose your favorite people. That will happen. That is part of the life. But it will give you big growth. It will give you definitely name, fame in your circle, wherever you are operating, whichever position you are in, it will give you that. But in spite of that, you have to be very careful in Jupiter Mahadasha, Ketu Antardasha, and Venus Antardasha. These two are dashas, Antardashas basically, which will kind of twist the whole scenario which you have built in last 8 9 years. These two Antardashas will take you in some other direction. Like Mr. Churchill, he was powerless and he kept fighting that India should not be given independence. Mrs. Gandhi lost her father. So suddenly she was one of the junior minister in the cabinet. So we have to see that ki Jupiter Mahadasha, whatever the scriptures say, whatever the books say, whatever the great saints say, or whatever the great astrologers say, they are talking in general about the 16 years. So when you look back at those 16 years, yes, you will see ki, okay, I was on a very big position at that time. But when you calculate year by year, there will be other losses. Than Hani Kare Jiva, that will also happen because Jupiter will be in full force. And where it is sitting in your chart and whatever power it is sitting in, it will do that. In next episode, I'll be talking about two people, Mahatma Gandhi ji and the Osho Rajneesh. In their charts, Jupiter played phenomenal role, but it is sitting in the so-called wrong or bad place. In Osho Rajneesh's chart, it is in third house, and in Mahatma Gandhi's chart, it is in seventh house. Both positions are supposed to be bad for Jupiter. So in the second part, we will be talking about that. See you in the next episode.